Chickens?
Chickens. All right, I am going to call the Human Affairs Committee to order on December 10th, 2018, here in the Aldermanic Chamber. It is 7 p.m. If the clerk would please call the roll.
Yes. Alderman Wilshire.
Here.
Alderman Karen. Here. Alderman Klee.
Here.
Alderman Gathright is unable to attend this evening, and Alderwoman Melissa Golia. I am present.
And we have
a quorum.
Thank you very much. Public comment. Seeing none. Communications.
We have from Carrie Skana, UPD Manager, Citizens Advisory Commission application format. And being no objection.
Oh, yeah, being no objection, we will, sorry, place that on, accept and place on file.
Okay. And our second communication also from Ms. Skana is the tentative schedule for the fiscal year 2020 annual action plan process.
There being no objection, I move to accept and place on file. Unfinished business.
We have none.
New business resolutions.
The first resolution is R18090 relative to the acceptance and appropriation of $58,000 from the State of New Hampshire Department of Justice into Police Grant Activity 2019 Violence Against Women Act VAWA grant program, and to authorize the transfer of matching funds. And I will move to recommend final passage.
The motion before us is to recommend final passage. We have Bill Adamson here from the National Police Department. If anyone has any questions for Bill.
Can you just give us an update and
Sure.
let us know whether this is time sensitive?
Okay. Bill, would you mind joining us? Thank you. Good evening.
Hello.
Hi.
So it is kind of time sensitive. After the reading tonight by you guys, I was in touch with Attorney Bolton. He's going to write a letter. I was telling Alderwoman Karen that we ran into an issue with the state as far as the grant agreement goes. In the past, having the mayor sign it was totally fine. This year, I think it's just a changing of the guards up there, and there's new people, and they have their way of doing things. So they wanted a certificate of authority, basically a letter saying that the mayor can enter into grant agreements, and he can sign those forms. So I talked to Attorney Bolton last week about it. After the resolution hopefully passes tonight, he's going to draft up a letter that can be sent along, and then everything should be fine. As far as the grant agreement goes and accompanying paperwork, it's already been sent up to them. I haven't heard back that there's any deficiencies or anything. So I know that, if memory corrects me, this starts right on January 1. So there is a little bit of time sensitivity to it. I know that the holiday's coming up, and we have a lot of things going on in our personal lives. So I don't know if there's another way to pass it through, or you guys are the pros on that. So.
Well, we have our full board meeting tomorrow night.
Okay.
I mean, if we decide to send this to the full board, I could do an oral report tomorrow night and pass this if it's that time sensitive. Right. Otherwise, we don't meet again until December 26th. I don't know if that's.
I think that would be fine. I mean, it's totally up to you guys what you want to do. If you want to put it as the first and second reading tomorrow, I know that Karen and I and Paula at the station, we have no issues with it. So if it makes your lives easier, by all means, you guys can definitely do that.
No, it doesn't make our lives easier. It makes our lives easier if it goes through on the 26th.
Okay. You guys can, I'll leave it in your hands, whatever you want to do. Because as far as I know, just tonight after the resolution is passed and Mr. Bolton completes that letter, he's already said, I'll do it tomorrow. We should be full steam ahead.
Okay.
So.
Questions from the committee?
No, thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you. Happy holidays to you and your families.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Same to you,
Take
Bill.
care.
Motion before us is to recommend final passage of Resolution 18090. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That motion carries.
Our next resolution is R 18091 relative to the acceptance and appropriation of $275,000 from the State of New Hampshire Department of Transportation into transit grant activity, transit capital projects. And I will move to recommend final passage.
The motion before us is to recommend final passage. I see Director Marchand here. If anyone has any questions for her, if you'd just like to join us, and feel free.
Good evening.
Hi.
Thank you. So real quick, this is a resolution that holds a whole bunch of different small projects that the state matches funding to us for. So it is, as you can see in the analysis, the state partners with the city. They provide 7.5% matching for capital projects. We have grants from FTA and specialty grants to replace some of our transit paratransit vehicles and the last CNG bus. And then the other half, the state matches 10% of funding, which we match the other half for. We got a very substantial grant to rehab the transit center, and that is the state's portion that they've generously agreed to donate in. And so those are the big ticket items that are under here. We've just grouped them all together in case there's slight ups and downs in any specific cost point.
Thank you. Questions from the committee? Seeing none, the motion before us is to recommend final passage. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, and that motion carries. Thank you, Director Marchand.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate you being here.
Have a nice night.
Thank you, you too.
Thanks, you too. And the final resolution for this evening is R 18095 relative to the acceptance and appropriation of $119,100 from the Kearsarge Foundation into Public Health and Community Services Grant Activity, creating a culture of prevention. And I will move to recommend final passage.
Motion before us is to recommend final passage. Director Bagley is here. Would you care to join us? Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Sure. You want to give us a little briefing on this?
Yes, I feel a little short, but yes. Oh, thank you. The Kresge Foundation is an organization that looks to help build public health leadership across the country. And Nashua, as one of the first and only accredited health departments in the state of New Hampshire, submitted an application for this leadership opportunity, and we were awarded this back in, I want to say at the end of August. And what this allows is for us to implement this applied learning research grant in our community, working with our division internally with some leadership staff there, as well as community partners in the city from our Public Health Advisory Council. The grant provides the resources to provide consultation and executive coaching for the leadership staff at the division. And so it doesn't give us any money to hire any staff or to pay for individuals to come on board to work with us, but helps us build our internal capacity. The opioid crisis 2.5 years ago when this kicked off, almost 3 years since I've been back at the city, really allowed for us to see what some of the causal agents are for opioid, substance use disorder, child abuse and neglect, which stems back to adverse childhood experiences. And so what we're seeing is the symptoms of a bigger problem. And so we've been applying, which is absolutely great, programs and interventions to address things on this far end when we really need to step back and take a look at what's actually causing some of the problems. So this grant will give us the opportunity to apply funding to consultants that will come in and help us build this prevention framework that will allow for us to start looking at issues a different way. So right now, an issue comes up, and we think we need to put a program in place to address that issue without doing a lot of really thinking about the systems and the approaches that we need to take. This will allow for us as public health strategists, because that's the new role that we're going to take on in doing this, to really think differently about how we approach issues that are involving our city. And it could be anything. Right now, the big thing for us is the opioid crisis, but it could be other things as well, with maternal and child health issues, environmental health issues. But we're going to put a process in place to allow for us to address these things, taking a more collaborative and systems thinking approach to it. I'm excited about it. Can you tell?
Yeah, that's good. Questions from the committee? Alderwoman Malizia Goya.
Yes, thank you. So, as I hear you say collaborative, I'm envisioning that you're talking about working across other public agencies and nonprofits and looking at how we build capacity using the resources we have existing and then maybe identify those gaps to move forward.
Yes. So initially, what it does is it allows for us to focus on a group of leaders to build their leadership capacity. So right now, we have a Public Health Advisory Council that is representative of a diverse group of stakeholders in our community. So a lot of the partners that have been working with us already are on this fact. So both the hospitals are represented, Dartmouth is represented, our federally qualified health centers are represented, community members, some business entities, the schools are represented on our Public Health Advisory Council. And so with our internal team, senior leadership at the internal part of the division, will work with that fact, then build this capacity as leaders to implement this strategic prevention framework across the city. It's a big undertaking, but we think we're up for the challenge. The consultants will provide us with the support that we need.
If you made it through the accreditation, you're going to make it through
Yes.
this. No problem.
Absolutely.
Alderman Clee.
Actually, I don't have a question. I just wanted to say thank you for being the first and only accredited public health in New Hampshire. Great job. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, it's one of those things that you get based on how we as a city work together. So our accreditation, they look at what we do as a division, but then they also look at how we collaborate with our partners in the community as well, which Nashua is a great place to work. So, and I've worked in Manchester too. Nashua's a
Won't
good city to
broadcast
work.
there.
We won't tell anybody.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? And that motion carries. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Very much. Appreciate you being here.
All right.
New business ordinances.
We have none.
General
good
discussion.
holiday.
Thank you.
Thank you,
You
you
too.
too. Alderman Karen.
Thank you. I just wanted to give you a little feedback on the CAC's ideas. Last year, after the agencies submitted their forms and a new application that this committee had approved, we asked them to give us some feedback as to some of the issues and problems they had. So they did, and over the summer, the group met, and about 3 people along with Carrie sat down and looked at those concerns and really reformatted the application. They didn't make changes that they would have needed approval, but really kind of reformatted, and we decided as a group to put the application online and have it all done online because it was time consuming. They had a lot of issues. So we're looking that things will progress even better than they did last year, and hopefully we'll get some more feedback at the end of this grant application deadline and move forward. But and I'm sure we'll get about 30 to 35 applications like we did last year. So it's going to be a long winter. And thank you. And they appreciate all the help that this committee gives them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Further discussion? No. Public comment? There's no one. Remarks by Alderman?
No.
No? No non-public? Is there a motion? Alderman Karen.
Yes, motion to adjourn.
Motion is to adjourn, and all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And we are adjourned at 7:14. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.